Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Boost Up. Again, John, Dave, myself. We're going to look back over our disappointing performance against Cheetahs last weekend, all the other Pro 14 action, and the second half, look forward to our game against Edinburgh on Friday night and all the other Pro 14 fixtures. So lads, 38-19 against the Cheetahs. We went down, got off to a good start, but unfortunately faded away.
What was the difference between that match and a bucket of shite? The bucket.
Yeah, when I saw Barry Daly go in on 5 minutes or whatever it was, I went, yes, here we go.
And
Try
so,
number one.
problem is, so did they.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Giving away 4 penalties wasn't the cleverest thing. However, we did hold them trialless until very close to half time. But once they got in there, the score line with along with the penalties looked 19-5 doesn't look very comfortable. It's already a mountain to climb. And funny, I thought they were going to just fall apart after 60 minutes, like Ireland did. And I've been saying this for weeks. I think I've said it on practically every episode. But funny enough, they didn't.
No.
They were coming strong towards the end, and they came back and scored a few tries. And they were an intercept try away from securing a pair of bonus points, which, considering the lack of leadership out there and the
Mental laziness.
the mental laziness that was in the game, there's nobody going to argue that they didn't have a shite. They had a shite game. There's plenty of blame to go around. There's probably to look on the positive side. There's Josh van der Fleer, and there's not too many others. Barry Daly,
Carberry and Barry Daly
yeah,
were about it. And some of the guys who came on for the last 20 minutes, but
yeah,
it was just. I mean, it's a bit of a familiar feeling actually when you watch a game like that, because it's one you get well used to with Leinster, and you kind of after about 10 or 15 minutes you're into it, and this impending sense that they're kind of phoning it in starts to raise itself, and then you get a bit ooh, hold on, they've scored a try, so they kind of ease you in with a little bit of hope, and then they whip it away from you by doing something monumentally stupid.
Well, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like against Cardiff, do you remember that game? The first home game of the season. We weren't playing particularly well and came back and bizarrely
banged in a 4-try.
Got 4-try and a bonus point. And this time it could easily have happened that we were one drop pass or one knock on away from possibly going in and getting
the 4 tries
and robbing 2 points. I would have said.
Yeah. I mean, there's the warning signs have been there all season. I mean, I say all season. This is our 4th game, but I mean, we beat Dragons, we beat Cardiff, and we did well against Kings. But putting those games into context of how those teams have performed against other teams, it's worrying.
But Dave, you have to look at who's missing. I mean, I've listed them here: Furlong, McGrath, Toner, Fardy, O'Brien,
Sexton,
Sexton,
Kearney.
You could name a team, and you wouldn't be far off a starting 15.
A whole 15. But you take maybe Toner, Vardy, and the injured players, right?
Tony Varder.
Toner. If you take Toner, Vardy, and the injured players, those are the guys, along with the crowd, with the shower from South Africa. Those are the guys who are going to play the majority of games for us this season.
Yeah, they are.
I mean,
but
the likes of Sean, the likes of Johnny Sexton, the likes of Jamie Heath, if he's injured, but even if he's available, Furlong, they're going to be
but they're
occasional amused bouches, but they're not going to be the main course.
No, that's fair enough. But you have to look at the age profile of the team.
Yeah, very young.
Like
very
seriously,
young.
it's
very good point, and that's exactly what I was about to say. I'm about to read out a list of players over 30 in the squad. Right,
shouldn't take you very long.
Nasewa, Heaslip, Fardy, Sexton, Strauss, Carney, McFadden, Toner, O'Brien. There's 2 more, and they were playing. Those weren't. Right, Cronin and Bent, neither of which you would say are captain material. They're leaders, or I'm sure they are leaders, but they're not guys you'd pick out and he's captain. So
like once Issa,
you also lost. We lost Issa and James Ryan injured last week. Very crucial injury, because it meant we've only 2 proper second rows, neither of which are the most experienced guys in the world. Ross Maloney was the captain when Issa went off, which shows that he's a leader, but the guy
just not a very good one.
Well, the guy isn't there a wet day. You're away in South Africa. And these are the two enforcers in your pack. It's him and Mick Carney. Like, you know,
well, you know, they could have just picked a better team, or picked different players, or worked it out better. Because we always knew that the I think we always knew the Cheetahs were going to be the stronger of the two
oh
teams.
yeah, of course.
You know,
said
okay,
it
and
last
whatever about what happened to Issa having to fly backwards and forwards, and maybe that contributed to his injury. I don't know, but at the end of the day, those guys, whether they win, whether they lose, I don't. To a certain extent, I don't mind if they win or lose. I mind, but what I want to see them do is look like they're
Giving a shit.
or not even giving a shit. It's look like they're going through some kind of intellectual process. Instead of just running around, as Eddie O'Sullivan would say, with your hair on fire, which is what a lot of them look like. I mean, we've talked. I mean, we've made a joke about Noel the Wall Reid and how good but his defence has been really, really good for the last 12 months. You wouldn't have known it looking at him last Friday night. You know, he was running around with his head on fire.
Again, Issa went off on the starting centre partnership, which you'd have to presume trained together all week, was broken up in favour of.
Well, it's not like himself and Rory O'Loughlin have never
Rory
seen one
O'Loughlin.
another before.
That's true.
They saw one another 5 days previous, or
That's
6 days
true.
previous.
But again, Rory O'Loughlin made his debut last season. You know, they're not the most experienced. Noel Reid, if you looked in that list of names, amazingly, Noel Reid is one of the more senior guys. I mean, he's only just behind Jack McGrath.
We've lost 4 of our 8 last 8 competitive matches.
Yeah,
Going back to last season, starting at some of them are excusable. I mean,
that's not a good look.
game against Clermont Auvergne, if it is as the first of the 8, right? Totally excusable. You know, they were a brilliant side, but Ulster, you know,
Well, Scarlets, just Scarlets, and their Scarlets are a very good team.
Scarlets, but we brought that on ourselves.
Sure enough, but
you know,
Scarlets went on and proved that they're a good
they
side.
proved themselves, and to a certain extent, I wouldn't mind losing them to in the final, losing to them in semi-final on our own patch.
That's
You know,
true.
there is, and it's something that I've worried about. There's still a mental weakness in this team.
Yeah, but this team is a very young team.
Oh, yeah, it
It's a
is,
very,
yeah.
very, and just because these guys are starting for Leinster doesn't necessarily make them outstanding players yet. There's a lot of talent there, a lot of potential there, but you know, it takes a long time for those guys to come through and to excel. And like, it's fine when you can slot in 1 or 2 or 3 when they're playing beside fellas with 50, 60 caps for Ireland. But when you're throwing them in and basically there's, as John said, you know, there's 2 or 3 of them in their 30s. The rest of them are, like, Adam Byrne might have 30 caps for like, at one stage, recent up to, you know, a couple of months ago, Carberry had more Ireland caps than he did Leinster caps. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's, you know,
I mean, that's fine, and it is a reason, but it shouldn't be an excuse.
Okay, and the one
there
guy,
is a difference.
But the one, and like, see, if you give a guy like Josh Van der Fleer ran out and first guy out onto the pitch because he got his 50th cap, but you could see what experience brings. He was by far the best player on the pitch because he's played 50 times for Leinster. That experience, like, he's still a young enough man, but he's got those caps in his belt. Like, if someone's got 20 caps for Leinster, like, and some of them are coming off the bench, they're still novices at this level.
Now, I agree with all that, but at the same time, there's still this nagging doubt in the back of my mind that, and it feeds back into what what Shane Jennings said a couple of years ago, you know, about fellas not. Guys have to realise how hard it is to, or should realise how hard it is to win stuff for Leinster, and I'm not sure that they have.
Well, this is where leadership comes in, and Shane Jennings would be a perfect example. According to everyone, he was very vocal on the pitch. He was always geeing players up and shouting at people where to be and what to do. You need someone like that. You know, no matter how good you are as individuals, you need somebody who knows what is happening, has the experience to tell everybody.
But you need someone like him, John. But look what he had. Like, he had probably touching 200 caps for Leinster. I'm not
And 100
sure.
caps for Leicester.
And probably 100 for Leicester, and probably 25 for Ireland. Like, do you know what I mean? That guy had experience coming out of his ears.
He sure did,
And
that's the point.
and when, you know, we joked about it last week about you know, Gervin Dempsey and Birch and 1 or 2 others, Mal O'Kelly going off to the Dragons and bringing through a load of young fellas, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't work. But the point being, though, that you need those, like, you need the experience of those 3 or 4 fellas to do it. On that match we played the other night, like, you probably only had Issa that you could say,
And he was gone after.
and he was gone after 18 minutes.
Well, the other side of that, then, or the other side of that is, you know, what were the coaches doing?
But like,
You know, and you look at the situation with, say, Ross Byrne, who was clearly unfit,
yeah.
and yet he was left on the pitch. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of him in the position, but Joey Carberry was there. He could have slotted in.
Yeah.
And Dave Carney could have moved around. Cathal Marsh was sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
Well,
but you could see the
Rory
guy could.
O'Loughlin already came on to replace Issa, so the
Well,
only other back on the bench was
Marsh. But
Was
thing
Marsh.
is, maybe
But what
they
I'm saying
just
is
didn't
Dave
trust
Carney
him.
could switch around
But-
and think could come in.
But maybe they
There were
just
options.
didn't trust him.
Well, possibly.
I don't know.
But I mean, the guy could barely walk away from
Yeah.
kicking. When he
Yeah.
kicked that second conversion, he could hardly walk.
Well, he kicked one into touch and he seemed to pull his calf or something.
Yeah.
Like he completely limped. But look, we scored 3 tries. Why don't we have a quick
Yeah.
look at
Well,
Barry's hat-trick?
we scored.
Well,
One
sorry.
guy. Barry
One guy.
scored. In fairness, it was a nice bit of finishing. I mean, these are nice tries. I mean, it's good power there.
Yeah.
Early on, things looked so well, you know.
Yeah, this is where I was going. Oh, look,
This is a lovely
we
pass. Yeah.
outflanked them so easily.
I think I'd gone into the fridge to get a second beer at this stage.
There you go, 5 minutes, and I thought that's it. That's try number 1 of at least 4. Hopefully, I said to
It was
myself.
obviously something that had been video research analysed, that they were defending very narrow, because a couple of times we tried. It didn't always work, but we did try and get outside them a couple of times.
And we even we did.
It worked twice.
One of the guys shot up and
Yeah,
came
there he
in.
goes.
That guy, there he goes. And ill-advised.
In fairness, he was facing the 3-on-1. He had to do something.
Yeah, but Winger came right way in off his wing. And,
Yeah.
You know.
Well, if we had it, you would have seen one of the tries that we conceded. That the guys, like, he didn't, that they went straight through, whereas if the winger stayed out on his man, and if he had to come in, he would have made it a little bit more difficult for the try and
Yeah.
lose the
Exactly.
conversion.
I always like, whether it's this situation or others, I always like situations where you cause the winger, if you create a situation where a winger can't win no matter what he does. If he comes in, you're going to go outside him. If he stays out, you're going to go inside him.
Yeah.
That's always the
It's an
ideal
impossible
situation.
really.
Yeah.
And you always look like a fool.
Oh, you always look like an idiot. Yeah. There's no on Monday morning. There's no way you're going to be able to defend yourself.
It was a disappointing crowd. I thought there was going to be far more in
Yeah.
the stands.
Mm.
It's just under
Toyota
8,000.
obviously didn't give away the tickets they gave away the previous week.
But even I just saw with
They
the
had, a
double
great-
header.
they had a brilliant ticket offer actually, which we'll go into later. But that was a nice try.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
Lovely try, and he made the conversion for
Yeah.
that as well, from far out. You could see Barry Daly was trying to hold it up and do a Jamie Heaslip there and
Yeah.
get up and run in under the sticks, but discretion had to be the better part of valor.
when we did things well, we did them
We
very,
did them
well.
very
The
well,
only thing
yeah.
is we didn't do enough of them well. I mean, here's another beautiful pass. Look
Lovely
at that.
pass.
That's textbook.
Rory O'Loughlin, isn't
Yeah.
it?
And this one was the one that gave us that little glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was quick thinking by
By Joey, yeah.
Joey Carberry. And
He had such a good game.
good ball holding by Josh van der Fleer.
See, he commits the man Conan. He's very good. He's technically he's very good.
He had a lot to do though.
Yeah.
Okay, your man wasn't so committed to tackling him.
Yeah,
His opposite number.
Manpivli was only going to go one direction. He wasn't going to change his direction.
No.
So, that's where it was all looking 31-19. It was all looking like, with a few minutes here we could get these 2 points and limp home. But unfortunately we got too eager and we threw it. Was it Marsh that threw the intercept pass?
Yeah.
But even before that, I think Porter knocked on
Mm.
to give them the
They
score.
were snatching
at
and
one
stuff.
Stage, yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of comical there with the three orange jerseys coming together at the same time. One of them tried and failed. One of them gave up because he
Yeah, one of them didn't
was a
even
big
try.
prop, and the other one just went, you know what? We're going to win.
I mean, fair
anyway."
play to Barry. I mean, we've said it before. I really like Barry Daly. I like the fact that I like his stick-attitiveness. Stick-attitiveness.
Well, he's certainly clocking up the tries
Yeah,
this season,
yeah.
isn't he? So that unfortunately means we've fallen down to third place in our conference.
Yep.
We'll talk about the other games later, but Ulster still 4 from 4, and Scarlets have also leapfrogged us.
I've seen twice in the media today reported that we've got to play Munster and Ulster before we go into Europe. Twice. Once on the radio and once in the press. Which, we're not playing Ulster till the 28th of October. So I don't know where that's coming from.
I know, it's giving you the blues, isn't it?
Got to mute that, excuse me.
But these things have an error creeps its way into into the consciousness, and it has a way of repeating itself.
Right. So
But I mean, we got two. I mean, these are two very, very important games now. You know, before we come in, because our European rivals are going really, really well.
they sure are. Which bring us neatly on to Glasgow, clearing out Munster.
Mm. In a game that was whose bonhomie and well spiritedness was highlighted here this week.
Yeah. Well.
A red card.
Yeah.
And a group telling off.
I love Nigel.
Yeah. Well, a red card could come back to bite him. Was it Wycherley got the red
Finny
card?
Wycherley, yeah.
And he's one of their few fit second rows because Klein's been injured now.
Yeah.
They've got Dev Toner's first cousin
Yeah,
over.
Mark Flanagan, formerly of this parish, has gone down there on loan from
Yeah.
Saracens.
So that's how bad things are. They're getting Leinster rejects in.
It's called the first team. Their first team. They still have.
They just teed him up for you, Dave.
I know. Copeland is down there still.
That's right.
He can
And
play.
He can play second
Yeah, he
row.
can do.
So, but their cupboard's really bare down there in Munster. And it was a mean-spirited affair. I didn't see all of it.
It was,
but
yeah. It was nasty.
Those two teams,
those
they
two
just
teams
don't
are-
seem to
They've
like
developed
each
a
other.
real dislike
Yeah.
for one another. It's
Getting-
lovely.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
You need. I mean, it's hard in a league that's multinational. You know, sometimes you can wonder how
The rivalries.
where the
aren't
rivalries
that,
come
yeah.
from. It's nice. It's nice when you see a proper rivalry. You know.
Yeah.
Well, John, you were spot on about your prediction that the Dragons were going to bring pretty much their thirds over
it
with
was
them.
kind of flagged. I think Jackman said it up front.
It was flagged when you were picked.
It was flagged, obviously, because Ulster picked a similar team. They rested a lot of guys. Okay, they played Piatow and they played, but they actually rested quite a few guys. So they obviously did that because they knew the Dragons were bringing the fairly weakened squad, and the Dragons have no depth, like no depth. So they were guaranteed to have. They were guaranteed to get a hockey and get a hockey, and they did. They were the only Irish province to win. But it'll take a while before the league really shakes out. Because the conferences and because you play some teams only home or away. B, because teams can go quite a while now without playing one of the other top teams. Again, partially to do with the conferences, but partially just the way the league is structured.
We have a shocking schedule.
So
actually.
we have one coming up that's
We
pretty
have,
nasty.
like before the autumn internationals, we've 5 matches. We play Munster at home.
Mm-hmm.
Then we go into the Champions Cup, play Montpellier at home, Glasgow away, and then we head up to Belfast,
Mm-hmm.
and then we've got Glasgow also away in the league.
In the league, yeah.
So it's a bloody tough assignment for the
Sure
next
is.
5 weeks.
We do get an easy run later in the season, however. But so it's not hard.
You need to at least put yourself in a position to take advantage of it.
Well, I mean, this is
Yeah.
the time that we need these. We need our big name players to come back into the team, and you're going to hope that they will be available for selection for pretty much 4 of those 5 matches in the lead up to the autumns, because they are 5 very big games. We need, obviously, like they're all matches we need to win, because
Pretty much all of them.
like we're now third in our conference, so we don't want to let too much. And there's of course only 4 games played, and we're only a couple of points or 3 points behind Ulster, but still we don't want to let that gap develop too wide. We just go through the results and then maybe have a summary, I suppose, of the round. The result that I was delighted with was Treviso beating the Ospreys 16-6.
Yeah,
Actually, I was just looking.
I watched that game on Twitter.
Did you?
Refresh.
That's actually Treviso's second successive victory over the Ospreys,
Yeah.
and obviously their second successive victory this season. So there's again
Something in the water down
well,
there.
it's so early early in the season. We don't know whether or not they've just ended up playing a couple of teams that aren't
the right
particularly
time.
good at this right time without their star players in it, or whether Treviso have actually turned the corner. But hopefully they have for the league.
Well, there was a very good interview with Conor O'Shea. Conor O'Shea was at the match, and there was an interview with him afterwards, and he was saying, "Look, let's not read anything too much into it."
Yeah.
He says what it is look, we know in Italian rugby that both our franchises and ourselves, the national team, we're one step behind everyone else, and what we have to do is we have to work twice as hard to make up for that gap in quality until we actually have that quality and we can work twice as hard to get in advance of everyone. But he says it's a process. So what he was talking about, he was obviously talking about, like, he's obviously gone in there as director of rugby for Italian rugby, and he's working with Zebre, he's working with Treviso in order to make Italian rugby, make the national team stronger. And you saw Zebre. Zebre went down to Southern Kings. Now Southern Kings are no great shakes, but they're neither are Zebre. And Zebre beat them with a team almost entirely Italian.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
I
they
think
had
the
to-
only non-Italian was an Irish lad.
Yeah.
So it was
Kieran
Kieran
Gaffney,
Gaffney.
yeah.
So, you know, if they can keep developing Italian players and make every year make the quality a little bit better, then that's what Conor O'Shea's after.
Well, I mean, like, there's no point in Treviso having, you know, a squad of 20
Kiwis or whatever.
exactly, and average players
Mm.
that have no benefit. Like the Italian Federation bankrolling the say the franchise teams and get no benefit for the national team. You got to develop, and it's probably going to take a lot of fallow years
Yeah,
until those fellas come true. But you're gonna have to persevere.
they
with
just have to live with it. And I think Conor O'Shea, they've got a guy who's intelligent enough and able enough to explain his point of view. I mean, he speaks. Have you seen him? He started speaking Italian and stuff like that. Like
Yeah, I read an interview with
That's
him.
very impressive,
And
like.
I think actually O'Driscoll did, or it was Horgan actually did the interview
That's right.
with him. And he said pretty much when he got the job, he started taking time,
Yeah.
which shows he's committed to the role rather than just lashing around and getting the paycheck as maybe some other people might have done going over to.
and because he seems to have taken an overall, he seems to be almost like the Irish coach in Italy, if you know what I mean. He seems to have that level of control, for want of a better phrase, or development power. And Conor O'Shea is very, very good at developing things. His skill has always been for want of a better phrase, as an administrator.
Well, he's got a lot of experience at it.
Yeah, I mean that in a positive way.
Yeah.
It's you'd also say that the Cheetahs game, much as it hurt us, is probably a good sign for the league as well. So it's good that Zebre, Treviso and the Cheetahs won this weekend, you know.
Yeah.
Not so good that Munster and Leinster and Connacht lost, but hey.
Well, that brings me on actually to Connacht going down against Cardiff. I saw that match. They were beaten 15-17.
John was finally right.
Well, but they are coming. They're the coming team, John. But it was one that got away from Connacht. They had the opportunity. Like, I was interested to hear Muldoon after it. He was pretty much down on Connacht as a team.
As a discipline, yeah, he was very annoyed with the discipline.
Yeah, very annoyed with him, and probably himself because he ended up in the bin. But I thought, God, you know, this is an opportunity for them to win this game. But he didn't seem to put much faith in them winning it because he just didn't think they played well enough. But it's not the first time that a Connacht team have thrown away an opportunity.
Defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah.
And Kieran Keane wasn't too happy afterwards either. He got a few tricky questions from
Graham Simmons.
Yeah, Graham Simmons.
Not even tricky ones. They were silly questions, some of them.
Yeah, but you know,
He's not a man who enjoys an interview, from what I've seen. Anyway,
he didn't seem to react very well to him. Anyway,
he's not a man who enjoys an interview.
Gatland-esque.
Yeah,
in his stony-faced silence. But anyway, hopefully he.
It's been a bad week for Gatland and Ferns.
We'll come to that. Well, no surprise, I suppose, that the Scarlets beat Edinburgh at home. You know, they beat them quite comprehensively too.
Didn't see that at all.
Scarlets are cracking. I saw some of the rugby they played was brilliant.
Was
Scarlets are feckin' brilliant. So they're really great to watch.
Yeah.
Really enjoyable team to watch.
But even when
Certainly
they've
the
been
best team to watch in the Celtic League.
even when they've been a poor team, you know,
They've always played
they've
rugby.
always played great attacking
Yeah,
rugby.
yeah. They always Scarlets have always and Clonetty before them always played the game a certain way, but they're a great team to watch.
Yeah.
They really are very enjoyable.
They went a bit forwardy there a few years ago.
That's because their coach was a forward.
Yeah, but they've come back around.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
And you mentioned earlier Zebre beating the Kings. Like that, just I suppose that just leads me on, I suppose, to the point of it is great for the league that those results. I mean, they might be just a fluke. Hopefully not. Insofar as you know, you need, if our league is to be taken seriously by the players themselves,
Press.
everyone, the players themselves, the clubs, the press, as you say, the supporters, sponsors, even rival leagues who ridicule it. If you know, you do need competitive. You need 14 competitive teams. Anyone can beat anyone on a given day. unfortunately,
But there's no relegation, so you can't have competitive teams. Unless we find somewhere to relegate people to.
well, you never know. That might
Those
happen.
trapdoors have a way of slamming shut. Interesting enough, if you think about it, Zebre took more points from their trip to South Africa than we did.
Yeah, that's true.
Did they?
Yeah.
The bastards.
Well, there's still that kind of disparity between the haves and the have-nots, as I kind of mentioned last week. I think there's 6 sides that have won, 6 sides with just 1 win or less, and 5 teams with 3 wins or more. So there is, now it's still early days, but there seems to be that divide happening again.
That could tighten up a little bit now with these
Could do.
Italian lads.
And
Beating
the other
people
side of
and
that
stuff.
is, I mean, I said it before and I'll say it again, that happened. I mean, I was looking at the Premiership at the weekend, and there's 3 or 4 teams down the bottom with no points. There's one team with no goals.
There's always one crap team in the Premiership, like Bristol or London Welsh. Or,
Sorry, I was talking about soccer. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I'm just saying because that was the other. I was when the league table came up, and I was reminded of what you said. And I was thinking, geez, it's not that far all that different in the Premiership. Sorry, the Premier League. As I say, no, you are right. There's always one team that kind of gets promoted and then can't afford to be there.
Maybe so, yeah. Maybe that's what it is. But
Well, Bristol are looking like they're going to be able to afford to be there when they get there next year, presuming they do.
Well-
Tau going over to be the most.
Well, looking at the
highest paid
see the
player
figures
in
that were
world
released
rugby.
today, in the Premiership, with the exception of Exeter, they are losing money hand over fist.
And Northampton.
And Northampton, they're losing money hand over fist. They really are. There are clubs with bigger deficits than all of rugby in Ireland.
Yeah.
You know, only
Saracens.
they're not deficits. In their cases, they're losses because they're obviously businesses.
well, like those businessmen have got to become millionaires or billionaires because they're very good at business, and they don't continually pump or sink money into
Well, they won't.
loss-making
No, they won't.
businesses.
You see, the thing about them also is that they always, and you see this in every sport, they always have huge egos. I mean, 'cause to get to where they got to in the first place, they had because they've been successful. And I think I can be the guy who turns football around, or I can be the guy who turns rugby around. And at the end of the day, none of them can. I mean, Roman Abramovich is in Chelsea because he loves football. He's not making a cent out of it. Beaujolais, I think, is probably the only one who hasn't lost money. And that's because he restructured the whole thing. But he'll get out of it
Well, like if you consider
breaking even, but that's about it.
if you consider like at this particular rotation of fixtures, quite a lot of the bigger draws were drawn away from home. But like this week, Glasgow, they're pretty much a full house. They got 7,000. That's what their stadium holds, 7,300. Ulster, the Portneuf crowd was 12,000. Treviso, 3,500. I think that's just a number picked out of the air. There was 4,500 in Connacht's, and there was 8,000 at Scarlet's, and at our match I think there was somewhere around 7, just under 8,000. So like they're still relatively small crowds, but they're not too far away from what the English teams are getting.
No.
Like Saracens stadium doesn't hold more than 10. Exeter don't get more than 10. Northampton only holds around 14,000. Leicester's got a huge stadium, it's 26,000.
They generally have good
And
occupancy.
they fill it too.
Yeah.
They fill it. They're pretty good at that.
And Wasps have a very big stadium, but unless they give away a load of tickets, their average attendance is like 12 to 15,000. So their attendances aren't that too dissimilar to what is in the Pro 12.
No, they most certainly are not.
But when you consider the population difference,
Exactly, yeah.
It shows-
and the local rivalry that you can drive to.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
we have 3 local derbies, 3 home derbies a season. Whereas if you're in Northampton, everywhere with the exception of Newcastle, it's pretty much you can do a day trip up and down, or in Exeter perhaps.
It's hard to know. I mean, the big problem coming down the road for English rugby is BT Sport. I mean, are they going to renew their deal? I mean, they can't get the Premiership can't get a sponsor. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
The Aviva were basically bribed to stay on as title sponsors this year. And was it 30% haircut?
Yeah.
On the
Yeah,
Six Nations isn't looking too
well, that's
cute
right.
either.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole Brexit thing. There's a lot of
a lot of uncertainty. Business,
yeah.
and that's my fear for the World Cup. But I'm sure we'll come to that. I said that before.
We will. We'll come to that in the second half. Anyway, for now, boys, thanks a million, and thanks very much for watching.